It's a new week. Hello, and thank you for joining us on the Monday edition of Journalists Hangout. This week, I'm Ayodele Uzubakun. Today on the program, ZAMFARA APC makes one last effort to have Supreme Court review disqualification of its candidate in the 2019 general election. Court adjourns OSHIOMHOLE'S appeal indefinitely. New dates to be fixed, and later on the show, many students ordered dead, several houses burnt as pipeline explosion rocked Abule-Ado area of Lagos. I'll be hanging out with Gani, Kayode Balogun, and Wahid Bakare, while Babajide Kolade Otitoju will be joining us live in our Abuja studio. GKB, it was a black Sunday.
Yeah, in Lagos.
Lagos, very bad one.
Yeah, I know the area fairly well. The area Nokakanfu used to live there.
The area.
Soka, Abule-Ado access. And I understand they lost the chairman of their development association. One Mr. Obi and his family to the inferno.
Quite unfortunate.
My condolences go to the family of those who lost their loved ones.
Wahid, what do you make of this?
It was a black Sunday. There's no doubt about it. But unfortunately, as we speak, nobody knows the cause of that explosion. All the things that have been ascertained to it, they are mere speculations. Some will tell you maybe it was a ruptured pipeline. People are trying to scoop fuel from it. That's why there was an explosion. But nobody is sure as we speak.
NNPC said
the exact thing that led to that catastrophe was quite unfortunate. Look at schoolgirls. Look at the way they were being rescued over the fence.
The most important thing is the rescue effort, so that those people that can still be, rescued, so that they won't just die in vain.
Yeah, I understand that the response was very quick. The army had a base less than 1 kilometer from the place, and they were there on time. The police were there on time. NEMA, RRS, all of them came on time.
So, if you are ready, let the hangout start now. Thank you for joining us. One of the things that make politics in Nigeria exciting and naughty most times is not letting go by politicians, despite several unfavorable precedents. The ZAMFARA State Chapter of the All Progressive Congress, APC, is making a last push to have the Supreme Court review its May 24th, 2019 judgment, which disqualified its candidates and nullified the victory of the party at the 2019 general election in the states. It's a case of audacity, of hope here. GKB.
Well, you and I know that the thing separating depression and life itself is hope. Because you always think that tomorrow will be a better day. And when it comes to Nigerian politicians, they will never give
Die hard optimists.
Until it's obvious. If it's just one day to the end of the tenure of the present person, they will continue to push and push. And it's not limited to Nigeria, it's all over the world. Politicians believe they can get away with anything. And it's not over until the fat lady sings. So they are waiting for the fat lady to sing.
Wahid.
Well, as we all know, the average Nigerian politician is an incurable optimist. They always believe that they will find a way around no matter how difficult the issue is. Now, what they want to hold on to is the fact that they say, okay, the constitution of the APC says that candidate can emerge in either of 3 ways: primary, indirect primary, or consensus. And they are now saying that, okay, the court did not put in the constitution the fact that there are some of their candidates that emerge
through consensus,
unopposed, and that the judgment shouldn't have affect them. So it's not for the court. Let's see how it will go. I think for me, like I already said on this program, it will go a long way to strengthen our democracy. Let them go and try it in court, and let's see what the outcome will be.
Babajide, if it didn't work for Bayelsa, it didn't work for Imo, why are APC politicians or people from the APC, why are they optimistic that the Supreme Court can actually give them a kind of audience?
It's up to them to give it a try because fortune favors the daring. If you do not, as a footballer, if you do not shoot, you do not score. So it is the footballer who shoots at goal that gets the privilege of scoring. So this is just an attempt by the APC, ZAMFARA chapter, to try for the last time to see whether it can convince the judges of the Supreme Court to take a second look at this matter. Because when you look at the point that they are making, whether we admit it or not, there were mistakes made in some of the most recent judgments of the Supreme Court. I am also of the view that there has to be an end to litigation. But if the goal of litigation is to achieve justice, then the Supreme Court, made up of human beings who are fallible, because only God qualifies to be described as the dispenser of absolute justice. So where the Supreme Court is seen to have made a mistake, it follows that the mistake can be addressed. Look at the conflict in ZAMFARA was largely, in fact, it was in respect of the gubernatorial contest. Well, what we had was a situation in which the Supreme Court sacked everybody, every APC candidate, from top to bottom.
House of Rep.
Yes, and the truth is, House of Representatives, three members, three candidates won unopposed. For the Senate, 3 of them emerged unopposed. And for the House of Assembly, 14 emerged unopposed. This is based on this is based on the APC National Headquarters record of its candidates for the general election as it concerned ZAMFARA State. So why should people who had emerged unopposed be disqualified? I don't think justice has been served by disqualifying one, people who were not affected by the litigation and people who had won unopposed. So this is the issue. The matter was about the governorship contest. So it should have been limited to the governorship contest. But the Supreme Court went ahead from top to bottom. It sacked the APC candidates. So if Yari and other people in ZAMFARA are complaining or that they want the Supreme Court to take a second look at this, I don't think that they've done anything anything wrong. They may succeed, they may not succeed. It is time that will determine that. But I don't want to believe that they have done anything wrong. And in some of the Commonwealth countries, we have seen deliberate efforts by the Supreme Courts of those countries to correct mistakes made by them. Ghana, for example, is in the Constitution of Ghana, Section 68. It says clearly that that the Supreme Court, it empowers the Supreme Court to review its own judgments, so that if in the course of the dispensation of justice, certain facts were left out, those facts were discovered after the dispensation of justice, it can form the basis for the Supreme Court of Ghana to go back and overrule itself. So I believe that a time will come in Nigeria when we'll get to that, because mistakes, glaring mistakes, are being made by the Supreme Court that even though laymen who know nothing about the law are seen clearly. So if it continues like that, before the Supreme Court loses its honor, then something has to be done.
Well, GKB,
yes.
That's saying that the court is final, not because it's infallible, but it is infallible because it's just final. When you have situations like this, Emeka Ihedioha had a case.
Yeah.
If you ask some people, they will tell you that the man from Bayelsa State, that David Leon, that it wasn't the one that was responsible for the infraction of his deputy, but the 2 tickets
It's a joint ticket.
It's a joint ticket. It affected them both, and that was the ruling of the Supreme Court. And this is final. So when we are saying that in one breath it's final, and another breath we should, the Supreme Court should revisit its judgment.
That's the point that Jide was making, and he left out one or two. There's a law in the U.S. called the Roe versus Wade. It's about abortion rights for women. It was passed in 1970. Up to tomorrow, states and individuals are still challenging that law in the Supreme Court. Because what they want to do is cut away at inches of it. Anytime there's a Republican majority in the Supreme Court, somebody somewhere will come out to challenge Roe versus Wade. Same thing with Obamacare that still passed the Supreme Court. Every year, nothing less than 10 litigations. It goes to the Supreme Court, some from the federal government itself, to see whether they can water down elements of Obamacare. And yet, the court is final. I think what the APC ZAMFARA is trying to do is try to separate the obvious elements in the gubernatorial problem from those who think they are being punished unfairly. And I think they have a case as far as that is what they are asking for. Whether the Supreme Court will agree is another thing entirely. But you and I know that law of natural justice states clearly that if judgment is not served properly, it will only lead to more litigation down the road. I think what they need to do right now is to take those areas that we've identified and present it as individual cases. Senator A, House of Rep B, Assemblyman D, who have been injured by something that technically had nothing to do with them because they are not part of the process. To expunge from the original judgment without losing face. But to ask for the entire thing, I'm sure that will be a little bit hard. But I know that if they can isolate cases, the Supreme Court judges are human beings, and I'm sure they can look at it based on facts.
Wahid Bakare, we thought there should be an end to litigation?
Well, that is the way it should be. But you know, if you feel that you have not, the court is not fair to you, I think you have every right to proceed further. You know, because
further where? Supreme Court.
Because the Supreme Court also leave room for the fact that it can review itself. There are conditions that must be met for Supreme Court to review itself. You know, the fact that it has not happened before does not mean that it cannot happen. There's already the first time in everything. You know, the Supreme Court also knows the fact that judges of the Supreme Court, they are human beings, they can make mistakes. That's why they said if at the end of the day they discover that a judgment was fraudulently obtained, they can review the case. If there are new evidence, even fast emerge, they can say, okay, we now have this which we never knew about before and present it before the court. So there is also that window of opportunity. I said that maybe people have not been using it in the past. And like I've said times on this program, that we should continue to put to test our law. It will strengthen the democracy at the end of the day. Once there is president now, we know that, okay, if we find ourselves in a particular situation, we know that we can go this way because there is a president by the court already.
Babajide, politically, don't you think this might create a kind of instability in Zamfara State? We have a situation whereby Governor Matawale has settled in as the governor of Zamfara State, and he has been acting in that he has been performing the function of the governor, and all members of the House of Assembly and even National Assembly members from the People's Democratic Party, that this might upset the status quo.
Yeah. No doubt about it. If the Supreme Court takes that decision, that is what will happen. But don't forget, it does not affect the governorship contest. That is the point that these guys are making. They are not asking for a wholesale review of the judgment.
Okay.
They are talking about people who had emerged unopposed, and that those who are emerged unopposed shouldn't have been punished by the judgment of the Supreme Court. So in that circumstance, clearly there was a mistake made, and they are looking at seeing whether that mistake can be addressed. Governor Matawale is not affected by this in any way, but it is those guys who were unopposed that they are talking about. You see, I talked about the Ghanaians. Article 133(1) of the Constitution of Ghana provides that the Supreme Court may review any decision made by it. Rule 54 of the same Supreme Court of Ghana, 1996, sets the conditions upon which the Supreme Court can review or overrule itself. One of them says, in exceptional circumstances, which has resulted in the miscarriage of justice. So, the second one says, discovery of new and important matter of evidence, which after the exercise of due diligence, not within the applicant's knowledge, or could not be produced by him at the time when the decision was given. You can imagine someone being brought before the Supreme Court, accused of murder, and before he was put to death, fresh evidence came up to indicate that he was innocent. Those facts were not available to him in the course of the trial. Because judges are not God, and they should not shackle themselves by the policy of finality. It makes no sense to put a man to death, even after fresh facts had been discovered to show that he was not guilty of murder. So this is the point that one is making. I also believe that at a point, litigation must come to an end. But I have also seen cases in the last few months and in the last 1 year where clearly mistakes were made in the judgment of the Supreme Court. Lawyers have come out to talk about this. Justice Onweze, even in his minority judgment, in the case of Hope Uzodinma versus Ihedioha, he said it clearly that the court will destroy itself if it continues to make mistakes only to argue that it cannot correct the mistakes that it had made. So this is the point that we are making. A time will come, the ZAMFARA people may not even get this justice that they are looking for. But a time has to come when the Supreme Court, when it is glaring that it has made a mistake, it should be able to reverse the decision that it has taken to correct that mistake. And it's happening in other lands. The Ghanaians have inserted it into their law, permitting the Supreme Court to overrule itself where it is glaring that it had made a mistake. So why do people go to court? It is to obtain justice. So if in the dispensation of justice, a mistake is made, what is wrong in admitting that, look, we made a mistake, and correcting it instead of leaving that error to be there forever for people to point out and take pot shots at the apex court of our country? So this is the thing. I think that we must get to that point.
As a result of the rounding off on this, when you look at the arguments that Jide has marshaled and the kind of bandwagon effect it had when the Bayelsa case went for review, when Imo State went for review, I think ZAMFARA took him. At a point in time, Kola Olobode addressed a press conference saying that the PDP presidential one, that they too they will seek review. And I'm looking at the backlash. You know, Nigerians, anytime, if you give window for something like this, you know, it could be abused.
And of course, the court also have in place measures to ensure that the process is not abused. That's why they allow for people to bring back cases for review. And I'm sure the punishment, if it is properly applied to frivolous cases, will discourage those who think they can waste our time and resources going back to these courts. But in the case of ZAMFARA, I think those people who are elected or opposed do have a case. And they have a case because it's natural justice to get what you want for things you did not do.
Gani, Wahid, we now look, Afebola Chief Abule-Ado has been fined 30 million naira. Wole Olanipekun SAN has been fined, although they've complained to the courts that the sanction was just too stringent. But the bottom line is that to serve as a deterrent to lawyers who will encourage their clients to, toe this line.
I think it's a way of checking abuse of the privilege, so that it's not be a situation whereby every Tom, Dick, and Harry will now become with all manner of cases, wasting the court's time. We have seen a situation whereby even the court will say there shouldn't have been any reason whatsoever for you to bring this kind of thing before us. So by the time they are now, if they could impose fine on two prominent lawyers, I think all other lawyers will think twice before they think of bringing any application. It is really their right to bring it anyway, but that's not to say that they should abuse the privilege and be wasting court's time. That's just the.
So, Babajide, your last submission on this?
Yes, my last submission is to be futuristic.
Okay.
I want a situation in which justice dispensation in our country will be very transparent and everyone will be happy. A situation in which people go before the court of law and clearly mistakes are made, mistakes that we can see, that everyone can see. And then we say, no, the mistake should remain, it should not be addressed. I don't think it makes any sense at all. So we must get to that point when we can take a second look at judgments that had been made. And if there's a need to make alterations to judgment, then it can happen. So in the case of ZAMFARA can be a litmus test. Yes. If the matter was between the APC, they were the ones quarreling amongst themselves. But the governorship contest was the main issue. But look, if people emerge unopposed in spite of that, then there was no reason to not let them go to the National Assembly or the State Assembly. Clearly, a mistake had been made in this area. And if the mistake can be addressed, then I think posterity will be kind to those who make that happen. But to make a mistake and then play God about a mistake that you have made, I don't think it makes any sense at all.
It really comes to mind the case of Senator Abiodun Olujimi and Senator Dayo Adeyeye. We had Senator Dayo Adeyeye here, and from his mathematics, from his calculation, you know clearly that the Court of Appeal in their judgment actually erred in so many places in that judgment. But the worst he could do was to write to the NJC. He couldn't push that case further, but it's quite unfortunate. Still to come, the Court of Appeal in Abuja adjourns OSHIOMHOLE'S appeal indefinitely, says new dates will be fixed for determination of the matter. Stay with us. It's still Journalists Hangout. We'll be right back after this time out. Welcome back. This is Journalists Hangout. Day by day, the crisis rocking the ruling All Progressive Congress, APC, is becoming something of more. The more you look, the less you see. The Court of Appeal in Abuja has adjourned indefinitely the appeal filed by embattled national chairman of APC, Adams OSHIOMHOLE, challenging his suspension. The court clerk told the packed courtroom that the three-man panel meant to sit on the appeal was not ready, adding that a new date will be communicated to the parties. So, an update to this story is that President Muhammadu Buhari actually met with the governors, and the governors resolved that the purported NEC meeting for tomorrow has been postponed. So that will give time, and President Buhari was talking about peace, reconciliation, peace, and way forward for the party. GKB, let me start with you. from the composition from what we noticed, if they had gone ahead with that neck meeting tomorrow, it would have been a farewell for Adams OSHIOMHOLE.
Actually,
From that seat, as in if they had gone ahead to hold the neck meeting in his absence, now he has a lifeline. It has been shelved.
not only tomorrow's meeting, even today's judgment. Today's case that was deferred also give room for Adams OSHIOMHOLE to fight another day. Because if he had lost the appeal, or even if he had won, he would have reinforced positions between those who are against him and those who are for him. But right now, with this thing being deferred and tomorrow's meeting being postponed, what we have on ground is room, maybe a week, maybe a window of 3, 4, 5 days for the party to resolve its crisis that will be amicable to almost everybody. I think that's what they are shooting for. And unless we get to that point, APC will continue to move around in circles. So what they need to do is use this opportunity that the party leader, that the president, has given them to really find solutions to the problem that they've been going through since the election that they won last year.
Wahid?
Well, like we all know, politics is about give and take. Now there is that window of opportunity for them to resolve whatever differences they have. They are human beings. They are about to have differences. There's nothing anybody can do about it. It's happened to PDP in the past. It's happening to APC. If there's another party tomorrow, it will still happen because there are individual differences. The way we reason, we cannot reason the same way, But there is that opportunity for them to put their house in order, resolve whatever difference they have. It's about give and take, like I said earlier on. What can you give? What can you take? Everybody will put everything on the table. They'll talk about it. I think they will find a way around it now that they have that opportunity.
Babajide, a kind of lifeline or respite for Adams OSHIOMHOLE.
Yeah, he won one today and lost one the same day. Clearly, he didn't have his way in court because he would have loved to have the appeal court set aside his suspension. That is the job of the appeal court because it's a superior court to the court here in Abuja that approved the suspension, in inverted commas. But to the shock of everyone, including those who had arrived in the court premises as early as 7:30, the court did not sit. So I know that within the APC, the people who want to kick OSHIOMHOLE into touch, they are not going to leave him alone. And they are probably even doing their best, reaching out to all the people who can help them to achieve their aims. OSHIOMHOLE has to watch his tongue at this time. You abuse judges when the decision of the judges do not go according to your plan or your wish. You do not know that one day you will need those judges. And here is a judge who has put the matter of your suspension in abeyance, which means that whatever the president does, OSHIOMHOLE remains suspended. You cannot go to the APC secretariat. He remains suspended. Thankfully, the president intervened. We've told him to always do this. But we have a president who likes to do things his own way. Now, the president has seen the need to intervene. Because when he steps in, he's a leader. Everybody will
come in line,
kind of behave themselves. But the president is reluctant to use the powers that he has. Today now, he told them we will not have this next meeting. Why? Because the president has been made to realize that at the rate the party is going, this party will collapse on its head. Everyone is talking about 2023. But APC may not survive beyond that year if the people tearing themselves apart the way hyenas and lions fight one another in the jungle. The greatest enemies in the jungle are hyenas and lions. Hyenas like to steal from lions. They are not good hunters. But when the lions go to kill game, hyenas will attack them and steal their kill from them. So this is the way these tendencies within the APC are fighting one another. The chairman of the APC Governors Forum, the governor of Kebbi State, is glaringly not in favor of OSHIOMHOLE continuing in office. But you see, you can say that, oh, a man who led this party to victory in the election, that you want to kick him out. No one is saying that OSHIOMHOLE is infallible. But does he deserve to be treated the way he's being treated now? Because governors have power, they are coming together, they want to save one of their colleagues, and they want to bring down the roof of the party as a result of that? Does it make any sense? Now, after Asiwaju's statement, you can see that the president has done the right thing. Because this is not the time to be aloof. Aloofness will never solve the problem. The president believes that Baba Konde should be given time to reconcile the contending groups. But all these people moving from one court to another and trying to influence judges, they really do not want peace in the party. So now the president has said, okay, what we have is the appeal court is in abeyance. The NEC too is in abeyance. So technically, OSHIOMHOLE lives to fight another day. There is time for him and the people who work with him to continue to try and solve this problem. I believe that it's not beyond resolution, but the president must do much more than he's doing now to solve the problem within the party that gave him the opportunity to be civilian president of Nigeria. He said this some time ago that it's been predicted that the party will die after he leaves office. He should not let that doomsday prediction come to pass. But it can come to pass if the hyenas and lions tearing themselves apart are left to continue to do what they like. So this is the solution. They have to come together. This is the solution.
In his press statement yesterday, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu was like, he went all out for Adams OSHIOMHOLE. As in, he went all out, you know, declaring his support and came for, you know, the people that were actually against Adams OSHIOMHOLE and saying that it's all about a game of 2023 and even the track that is meant for 2023 has not been constructed.
Yes, what he's trying to say is that this is not the time to start a battle for a war that has not been declared. But you and I know politicians don't work for today. They work for the future. And one of the things they do is to ensure that whatever they see as impediments towards achieving their goals down the line, they are willing to remove. This is not the first time governors will be very powerful. Don't forget that governors nearly threw Obasanjo out when he was seeking a second term. And there was a time we thought we were running a governor crazy, that only governors will become presidents until Buhari broke the jinx, basically. And now we are back to where we were, where governors think they are better than everybody else, and that their tribe, they can use it that, and the one who determine the direction that will go in the future. But yesterday and today has shown that 24 hours is a long time in politics. And I'm sure this time tomorrow, more things will come out. Like Jide said, is for Buhari, basically, is unstable. The buck stops there. He's the leader of the party, and if the party dies on top of him, that's what history will remember.
Wahid, looking at Asiwaju's press statement yesterday, and we want to read the body language. That's this morning we're doing a kind of calculations of governors that are for and against. We're calculating, and we even went to the National Assembly. Discovered that some National Assembly members that are for, against, and we went to even the caucus, the South caucus, a caucus led by this the governor of Edo State, conveyed by the governor of Edo State, was held last week, and they declared, and everything for Victor Gaydon, and the man from River State. And another caucus meeting was held by the South yesterday, and it was chaired by Deputy Senate President Ovie Omagege. And they actually declared their unalloyed support for Adams Oshiomhole.
I think the statement released by Asiwaju Tinubu yesterday has defined him as a true national leader of the party. You can see that from the beginning of that statement to the end, you can see the man who has the love of his country, not just his party. Where I found most interesting was that aspect where he said, no, this is not the right time. What should concern us is how the president will deliver on his dividend of democracy. Because the president, during the electionary, did make some promises to Nigeria. How far has he gone to deliver on those promises that you people are talking about 2023 in 2020? We all know that by the time we get to 2023, the governance will be locked down. In an election year, there is nothing like governance, so it's about politicking.
1 year
to the election. But we now have a situation whereby about 3 years to the election, people have now started fighting about 2023. How many of them can beat their chest that they will live up to that time?
Or they will be around.
Honestly.
How many of them can beat their chest? They don't know what happens tomorrow. Let's talk about the present situation now. The truth is, whether we like it or not, the truth is that the present administration has not met the expectation of the majority of Nigerians. Let's talk about that one. What are the issues? We have issue of insecurity, so many issues. Economy, let's talk about that one. Show Nigerian people that you are really concerned about their welfare, not about 2023. 2023 will come. Some people will have died before that time. Are you sure you are not among those who will have died before that time? Let's deal with the present situation now. Let's deal with the present situation, and I think what Asiwaju did is timely. And you can see that within 24 hours after he released that statement, things have started falling in line for the party. The same day, a day after, the president now said, okay, you people should go home, go and resolve the issue. Let's come back together as a family and talk about it. Like I said, politics are about give and take. What can you give? What can you take? You can't have it all. You can't take it all. It won't work that way.
No, so Babajide, the internal crisis resolution mechanism will be activated now, and even Asiwaju even said people that are so quick to go to court is the kind of undermining the assignment of Chief Bisi Akande, making it difficult for him.
Yes. Whoever you appoint to try to resolve this dispute within the party, some of them will say, no, we cannot work with this one. Oh, this one is loyal to Tinubu. Oh, that one is a Ganduje's man. Oh, that one is so persons. This is the problem that we are facing. The tendencies contesting against one another show clearly the treacherous nature of politics in our country. These are people, you see them laughing at one another.
Honestly.
Smiling at one another.
Civil as well.
But beneath them, there is a desire to do harm. And when you have such people around you in your political party, the party is in trouble. There has to be a genuine reconciliation. I have talked about this for so long. I said that since the elections were held in 2019, that OSHIOMHOLE had not done anything concrete to reconcile those aggrieved party members. Those aggrieved party members caused their party to lose their states. They refused to join the PDP. They remain in APC. And they've not been reconciled. So they are there causing more trouble. These efforts to reconcile people had come very, very late. And that is why we can see that the efforts are not yielding dividends. But my view is that the president can do a lot. He can do a lot in helping to solve this problem. And that is what I want him to see. APC should not be such a rudderless party that an individual who is not qualified to call NEC meeting will be calling NEC meeting. Who does that? So this is now the president has stepped in to say no. No NEC for now. At least give the opportunity to this Akonde committee to try and reconcile people. But what the governors are desperate, they are busy collecting signatures, behaving as if the party belongs to them alone, collecting signatures against OSHIOMHOLE. When I heard of some of the governors who are already against OSHIOMHOLE, I was surprised. That is why I will never be a politician. Because perhaps you must be adept at treachery to be a successful politician. Because Nigerians will be amazed at some of the people who are plotting the removal of the APC national chairman. Yes, OSHIOMHOLE has his problem. And he's someone who really even learns from his mistakes. But at this stage, there should be room for resolution of this matter. And that is why I commend the president for stepping in at this time. Okay. But it needs to do more.
It needs to do more.
And if he's unable to resolve the matter and they say, okay, they want OSHIOMHOLE to go, it does not have to be kicked out in disgrace because he led his party to victory. Even Baba Oyegun, who used to be there, when it was time for him to go, they offered him ambassadorial posting. He was the one who rejected it. So the party has to be much more organized. It has to set example for smaller parties. It's the leading party now. But right, in terms of the way the leading lights of the party are doing things, they are not setting the right example.
Okay, Jide, we have to leave it there. Now to our final topic now. Another pipeline explosion rocked Nigeria's commercial capital, Lagos, on Sunday, leaving large-scale destruction behind. One of the troubling things about this explosion, which devastated Abule-Ado in Amuwo of Lagos area of Lagos, is that the lives of many school children were involved. Also, the exact cause of that resulted to the inferno, which many claim is yet to be ascertained as rescue workers continue to pull bodies from the rubble. The Lagos State Governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, visited the scene and announced a 2 billion naira relief fund to help victims of the explosion. Gentlemen, as we started, quite unfortunate.
It is.
And Babajide Sanwo-Olu, the governor of Lagos State, has actually a Polaris bank account has been opened, and the Lagos State government made for the first initial deposit of 250 million. This fund will be managed by the Deputy Governor of Lagos State, Dr. Obafemi Hamzat.
Well, it's an unfortunate incident, and again, I want to commend the rescuers, first responders, for quickly moving in. I understand that the army got there barely 20 minutes after the bomb went off. Well, after the explosion went off. And then the police were also there, RRS, everybody.
It reverberated across the state.
It even got as far as Agegi. Those are people who are also claiming they got it. They got it in Ota. I think got that. Don't forget, we are interlinked. Most of us have balls. And so Lagos is on the flat land. Okay. So basically, things like that will travel far. The governor has done the right thing, though I don't think throwing money at the problem will solve it.
No, just for the initial relief. Initial relief, because over 150 houses are said to be affected, and people are
so
displaced.
Far, 15 people have been killed.
Yes.
So because they've not gone through the rubble.
Yes, to get this, and people are displaced from their homes.
And
so they are packing their.
Some of the houses will have to go through tests because I don't think they can stand.
Again.
So some of them will have to be pulled down
Raging
because
fire.
nobody can now live there. And so we have a long way to go. It's okay to set up a fund, but what the government need to do first is to create that element that they have the answers to what you've listed. The houses that are not standing well, the number of people that have died, open an account for money, and then make sure the first responders know exactly, like NEMA and Lagos State Emergency, get in touch with all this. Lagos is the best case scenario when it comes to emergencies. So imagine this happen in some interland where they don't have such facilities. It will have been worse.
Well, kudos to the governor. We have a situation whereby we prevent this kind of thing from happening. It's like we have been sitting, those people living in that area have been sitting on the time bomb for very long.
Because
what have we been doing?
I was told that area is a green area.
It's a green area, and people are building on it. Does it mean that no government official has seen them all over these years? We don't have to wait. I can tell you that anytime there is a disaster, you can easily predict what government will do. There will be a press statement commiserating with the dead, sympathizing with their family. Okay, we will pay the hospital bill of people, and then everybody will go home.
People are going there now.
We follow our
going there.
Political
parties are going there.
Photo ops.
Yeah.
They are going there for
Right
photo ops, and they will now be putting pressure on media houses. Please help us to use this photograph. Our governor was there. Help us to use it. The chairman of local government was there. Help us to use it. That's the kind of pressure we receive. But we don't want that kind of thing. Let's prevent this thing from happening. That's the best way to go. It's not about when it has happened. Most of those who died, if they had the option, they won't want to die. Nobody wants to die. As difficult as things are in Nigeria, nobody wants to die. You know, so let's prevent it. They have been sitting in that area for how many years now?
We also said
the whole place was clustered. You need to see the kind of houses that people are living.
Densely populated.
Area.
And they have
I know that there are pipelines.
And they have gas companies around.
No, it's not right. It's not right. It's not right. It's not right.
Babajide,
We should go.
what do you make of that explosion?
Well, it's something that was easily avoidable. But this was an accident. A truck ran into a facility for gas production, thereby leading to a big explosion. And there is a pipeline running all the way from Atlas Grove to Mosimi, conveying petroleum products. So when all of this, you are talking about gas and then pipeline carrying petrol. When you have an explosion that affects a gas processing company and
Petrol.
petroleum pipeline, you can understand why we had this kind of explosion that brought down some buildings and set ablaze so many buildings and killed many people.
I'm sure
the mistakes that we made in the past are causing us to suffer today. Elsewhere, you will never even get close to pipeline. Pipelines are supposed to be dug several feet into the ground to the point that nobody can breach them. I remember discussing with the former Minister of State for Petrol, and he said if he had his way, he would want us to relay all those pipelines. Make them so deep into the ground that all these vandals can't get there. And then you also create a situation in which when you are making moves to breach the pipeline, you could be electrocuted. So people will stay away.
All right.
But what we have is you see gas pipelines on the surface of the earth.
Honestly.
You see petrol pipelines on the surface of the earth. Anything can happen. And people are building on their right of way.
Jide, we have to leave it
there. So we are our own worst enemies.
Honestly. And I want to thank you, Baba Jide Kolade Otitoju, all the way from Abuja, live in our Abuja studio. At least you are not around, but we are able to still talk to you. And I hope we sustain the momentum throughout the week. BKO. And Wahid Bakare, thank you. It's been a while. And Osiare, Gani Kaide Balogun.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you, and that's our offering today. It's the beginning of the week. Join us tomorrow for another episode of the program. You can watch Journalists Hangout on our platforms showing on the screen. We're on YouTube, youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Our feedback channel is Journalists Hangout at tvcnews.tv. I'm Ayodele Uzubakun. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.